Hello, hello. Good evening, everybody. Happy Friday the 13th. And Cryptic, it looks like your internet's back up, so hello and welcome. For those of you just joining us for the first time, welcome to Night Writes. This is your chill evening writing hangout. My name is Jax. I am a fantasy writer, soon to be a fantasy author, hopefully, if I ever finish the book that's on your screen right now. And this is my multi weekly writing hangout. So, what we do here is pretty simple. Uh, so, if you're on Blue Sky, you will see a link. Click the link in order to join our chat. Joining our chat means that you can participate and throw words at me. You can say whatever you'd like so long as it doesn't make people uncomfortable and so long as it doesn't violate YouTube's TOS. I will read the things that you put in the chat out loud and respond to them. And that is the social part of it. We do have an icebreaker to help those of you who are shy ease on into our chat. If you were here on Wednesday, I'm reusing it. Have no shame. I do feel bad that I hopped out very abruptly midstream last week, but it is what it is. I mentioned that I am astrophobic, and unfortunately, my workstation is right next to the window. I really need to fix that, but suffice to say, when there's lightning, I need to move. There's like no question about it whatsoever. It's like even if I'm indoors, I do not want to be that close to a window whenever there's lightning out, and that it is what it is. Everybody has their own phobias and whatnot. You deal with it however you can. Anyway, so that is the first part of the spiel. But if you weren't here for Wednesday, the icebreaker is pretty simple. It's name your favorite OC. Choose your favorite child, essentially, and let us know why it's your favorite child. And hello, Gabe. Welcome. Continuing on with the spiel, in 30 minutes or less than, we will have the first of our word sprints. In the top left-hand corner of your screen, you will see a bunch of timers. Each of these timers give you an idea of what to expect, but basically, our sessions are 20 minutes long. Now, if you've never done word sprints before, actually, then traditionally they can be however long that you want. It's recommended that you do about 20 to 20 minutes because more than that, you will burn yourself out. And during those 20 minutes, basically, the idea is that you're supposed to be writing as much as possible in that time period. However, we like to take things a little bit looser here. It's night writes, and that's just the house rules. You can write, you can edit, you can do things that have nothing whatsoever to do with writing. You can, for example, have dinner, nap, meditate, do laundry, do chores, do art. Just do something that improves your life in one way or another. That's the only rule they ask of you. At the end of the 20 minutes, we will talk briefly about our progress and cheer each other on. After which, I expect you to get up and walk around because, not walk around, but get up from your computer and take care of your needs. Use the bathroom, make sure that you have water, just rest your eyes for a little bit. Do something that gives you a break because self-care is important care when it comes to creativity. So during those 15 minutes, I will be chattering at you about literally anything that's on my mind, and I apologize in advance if it's going to get ranty. I do have a habit of going off the handle on these streams. So, for certain, take those 15 minutes to do whatever you need to do because I will be using them very much to talk your ear off. At the end of the 15 minutes, we will dive back into our next sprint, and we will do that a total of 3 or 4 times. Generally speaking, night rates tend to be 3 because it's a weeknight and I generally don't have enough energy to do 4. It is going to be a 3 sprint session tonight because tomorrow morning, in fact, we will see our tea right session. For those of you who don't know, Night Rights happens at night, obviously. They are streams exactly as I've explained to you. Uh, but there's a sister stream, quote unquote. It's something that I also host, and it's literally the exact same format, the exact same everything, but it happens at 8:30 in the morning, Eastern time. So we're going to be back here in 12 hours doing another writing session. So that's why we're only doing 3 sprints today instead of the whole shebang. So that is about it. I do have to admit that I kind of stalled during the first 30 minutes to let people trickle in, get settled in, uh, ask a question, or sorry, let them ask questions if they've missed the spiel, so on and so forth. Just sort of like settle in, get ready to write, make sure that you have tea, and so on and so forth. Man, I haven't done the promo shot of Benjamin for tomorrow morning either, but y'all know I'll probably not actually do a promo. Who knows? Uh, or actually, I'll just probably reboot the chat that I have and just be like, hey, yeah, there's going to be another one tomorrow. But in any case, Gabe says, and this is in response to our icebreaker, which again is usually a writing question, and we encourage you to answer it just to sort of ease yourself into actually chatting. But Gabe says, such a hard question. I love all of them. Today I'm giving love to Benedict Miller, Avery's dad. His story is super complex. I really put him through the ringer. That's how you know I love him. I appreciate that too. Like knowing how your story ends. You've mentioned it in various Fave Line Friday posts and in streams, and I am so glad. I won't go off about his ending because that is a spoiler. Uh, but he does deserve love. He is a delight, absolutely. We also have a newbie, the Silent Pages. Hello, welcome. Happy Friday the 13th, and welcome to our little writing stream. Feel free to introduce yourself. Feel free to introduce your project if you're working on one. Sometimes we have people who are co-writing with us. Sometimes they're just chilling out and kind of curious about a chill stream. If you are a writer, feel free to let us know about your projects and whatnot. If you're on Blue Sky, also let us know so that I know who you are. Uh, Cryptic says, I know I answered on Wednesday, but Adonis is still my current fave. He's just a breath of fresh air. I am also delighted. Hell yeah for consistency. Oh. So the Silent Pages says, it's me, Allison Mulder. Hello. Welcome. I do recognize that name. Heck yeah. So yes, welcome. Gabe says he really does. Heart, 100%. I am very much excited to see that chapter pop up. By the way, just putting it out there. Allison says I signed in on YouTube and it supplied my username from ages past. Totally a-okay. Like who to be in your defense, who really signs into YouTube? It's really just sort of like, oh, there's a video up and I am going to watch it and consume it and not let that be a part of my search history later on. So totally understandable. Also, if it makes you feel any better, I had a friend who once signed in to participate in these streams, and his full ass legal name was there. He changed it so fast, but still, it was kind of funny to see. Um, Cryptic said, in other words, if you're signing into YouTube for the first time, make sure that you're like double check your screen name before you enter anything in the chat, guys. Just as a heads up in PSA, because you never know what's going to pop up. Cryptic says everyone else is very doom, gloom, and trauma, whereas Adonis worked through it that long ago and is just a well-adjusted, kind man. And I added a D to that. Interesting. Anyway, we do love a well-adjusted, kind man, especially in a cast that just goes through it. Like, who can argue with, like, there's always that Sunshine and Daisy's character, but it hits different whenever it's because they've gone on through and worked through all of their shenanigans and made it through the other side. Uh, because sometimes sometimes it's sunshine and daisies, and it's like they've earned it, and sometimes it's sort of like a veneer of shenanigans. Like I'm thinking about this one character that is in a webcomic. And by the way, I highly encourage you to both y'all to both look up this artist, just his work in general, but also look him up on Blue Sky. I repost his GoFundMe every so often because I'm unfortunately unable to give, but he is going through it. His name is Joe England, but his webcomic Zebra Girl, uh, I started reading it in college, and it really like shaped a lot of how I tell stories. And it was like a canon. Discovering Zebra Girl was like a canon event, I guess. He is currently working on a vaguely sapphic webcomic. I kind of want to say it's sapphic, but it's still kind of like in its earliest stages, so it's hard to say if it's actually at this point, but it's very cute. It's called Witch Warp. But in Zebra Girl, I got off on a tangent already. In Zebra Girl, there's this character called Jack, and Jack starts off just like as this silly pervert archetype. Early Zebra Girl is a little bit problematic and very slapstick and cartoony and silly, and then halfway through, it gets super serious and urban fantasy dark. So that's part of why it's so fun. But there is Jack starts off as like this silly, nobody takes him seriously kind of character. Like he's basically the comic relief. He gets set on fire every so often whenever he screws up. That it's that kind of comic. But halfway through, he goes through this traumatic event because he's. I won't go super duper into it because I really want people to actually read it. The arc is specifically called Maginette, and it is the most beautiful and heartbreaking thing that I had read in webcomics. It is basically a metaphor for. There's a lot of metaphors about online friendship in it, and towards the end of it, like Jack was already going through it at the start of this arc because of magical shenanigans that left him extremely isolated and extremely desperate to undo a magical mistake that he made. Uh, but he finds solace in this magical space full of wizards. But things happen and it leaves him scarred, but also a wizard. So at the very end of this arc, he's like super wise and very calm ish. Like towards the end of the actual full story, we see him kind of, or at least at the beginning of Witch Warp, we see like him kind of slightly anchored to reality. It's difficult to explain, but at the end of Maginette, it's like he goes through literal hell and comes out of it so much better of a person. Like he's very calm, he's very grounded. He doesn't get angry all that much anymore, and it's like he is such a cool character for it. Like you see all this growth and all this serenity that comes out of this character is directly related to that character arc, and it's just so beautiful. I love Jack so much. I love all the characters that Joe England has created, to be honest with you, but Jack is probably my absolute favorite. So yes, go and read Zebra Girl. Like I said, the first few chapters are hard to get through because it's cartoony and it's like late 90s uh, image quality as well, so it's a little bit difficult to read, but like literally, but it is worth it, and it's especially worth it to get all of this character growth and all this story and also go read Witch Warp, and then if you have the money, go donate to his GoFundMe. But yeah, what I'm basically the main thing that I'm trying to say is I love it whenever you can tell that a character has gone through a whole lot and they come out of it either serene or just like, well, I've already gone through hell. Now I have this sort of wisdom about me that allows me to navigate anything else. Everything else doesn't seem so bad, that kind of thing. So I love that. And I love that for Adonis, too. Uh, that said, back to the chat. Gabe says, I'm starting out the night by having dinner, lol. Excellent. Like, self care, man. Also, feel free to drop what you're having for dinner in the chat. No, I'm kidding. Or maybe I'm not. Who knows? I I have been going through it in terms of digestive fun because health issues recently. So it's been a while since I've had a home cooked meal that has not made me sick. So that's it. That's a sad thing to say, but hey, we're there anyway. Um, Cryptic says the weirdest part of him is that he doesn't know if it's okay that he thinks of his boss as a mom. LOL. Uh, okay, maybe that might not be so good. No. Like I haven't but then again, I'm coming from an angle where I've never really had a great relationship with any of my bosses, and I am very much of the opinion that you should never have a good relationship, that close of a relationship with anybody that you're working under. Maybe mentorship, but otherwise it's sort of like never. I'm about to go off on political rants, and I will not do that. Not this early in the night, anyway. But I will say this. I guess it's just because my dad is sort of like the kind of person who spent most of his life being like, hey, keep your head down and do things professionally and they will reward you. And then he got shocked Pikachu faced whenever the company didn't reward him. So, like, there's that. Cryptic says that she did help him pick a new name and get through all this. So, okay. So, if they're genuine friends, or if you're a genuine friend with your coworker, I guess that's not bad. But yeah. Um, I guess I should also. I mean, I responded to the icebreaker on Wednesday, and I'm probably going to reuse the icebreaker tomorrow too, and just sort of like change the name for the graphic because I don't know, like sometimes it's difficult to come up with questions for the icebreaker. They have to happen though because they are excellent ways to get people involved with chat, kind of, sort of, anyway. Like, I mean, the regulars do respond to the icebreaker. So hell yeah, salute to Gabe and Cryptic, and also absolutely to Allison. And not to like say you're not welcome or anything, but you know, like regulars are very much dive in and they know what's up. They're like, yeah, there's the icebreaker. We need to respond to this. Well, Jax is spending 15 minutes explaining how the stream works for the umpteenth time. Uh, but you know, I really do need to like make a spreadsheet of what questions I've already asked because otherwise it's sort of like, have I already asked the question about what your characters will be for Halloween yet? That kind of thing. But eventually I'll do that for that and apparently the bonus queue because people are actually offering suggestions for Faveline Friday. So that's pretty cool. But, you know, sometimes if you're doing things multiple days a week, you're just sort of like, I just want to reuse things because I'm lazy. I'm not really lazy, but you know. Allison says, I've been trying to decide, but I have so many children, and my favorite is whichever I'm working on currently. That is totally understandable. That's also something that I mean, it is something that I was definitely anticipating with this question. Like, oh no, how dare you make me choose Sophie's Choice and all that. Which is also kind of entertaining. Just because then you start getting people naming multiple characters or just sort of like talking about why all of them are their favorites, and that reveals so much about their stories as well. So it's such a delight whenever people can't decide. It's as much of a delight whenever people can't decide as when they can. Uh, but in other words, like it is very real to be like it's just whatever one I'm working on right now. That having been said, are you bouncing between whips right now? Let me see something real quick. Ooh. I might have taken a peek at your B Sky to see if you have anything new. But that having been said, yeah, absolutely. Let us know which one you'll be working on tonight. Cryptic says mood TBH. The only reason my current icon isn't my fave is because I haven't worked with him for quite some time. Totally cool. You mean you don't have an icon of Adonis, or you don't have like or this one isn't your fave currently? Because either could work. I'd approve of both. But I guess very quickly, my fave currently is obviously Mick, and I've actually kind of like posted a little bit. So there is a little bit of an update, and that is, funnily enough, it happened during the last stream where I wrote a little bit. Cryptic says my icon here on YouTube is Mortimer. That it's been a hot minute since I've heard that name from you, actually. Allison says, I was poking at a new emotional flash fic at some coffee shop writing with friends just before this and accidentally stayed a few minutes past closing, so I may poke at that one more. Uh, Cadence definitely works. And accidentally stayed a few minutes past closing, so I may poke at that one more. Absolutely. Like, you were very clearly in the zone. Let's keep that energy going. Cryptic says, I just haven't written about him for probably a couple years now. Damn, it has been a couple of years, hasn't it? Also, side point, it's been a couple of years since we first met on Tumblr, hasn't it? Jesus. Uh, I only say this because I do remember hearing about Mortimer when we first started really talking, and I completely forgot that you had a Mortimer until I was like, ah, okay. Uh, Gabe says, I think I'm going to work on something a little different today. I joined the Trans Queer Jam on Itch, and I'm writing an Eden Hollow story between Elias and Sterling for it. I hit enter way too early, lol. Totally understandable. But that is super exciting. I am here for Eden Hollow Extended Universe. But also, hell yeah for supporting Jams on Itch. Also, those sound like so much fun. Uh, I am going to support every story that comes out of that, and I am like eyes emojiing all of you who are doing it. So yeah, go check that out if that sounds interesting. Not you, Gabe, obviously, but like everybody else. Cryptic, go and Cryptic. Yeah, that sounds like it might be your jam. Go and check that out. I'm kidding. Maybe, possibly. Allison says otherwise, just trying to get some backlog of short works in progress finished, revised, jumping around lots. Totally okay. Uh, I encourage jumping around in these streams because we're going to be here for a bit. Like, it is 3 20-minute sprints, sandwiching a bunch of breaks. So these streams are going to be lasting for a bit. So, like, find something for sure that if you need to bounce around projects, absolutely do that. Uh, Cryptic says crossover is old. It has. Yeah. Damn. I forgot about that work in progress entirely from you. But yes, that is something that's on the come back to pile for sure. Gabe says it's going to be set post story, but before the epilogue. And by that point, Sterling's had bottom surgery, and they have a really romantic evening together, celebrating their new lives. Oh, that's going to be so cute to read. Like I have to admit, I'm not 100% sure how Jams on Itch work. I do hope that I get to throw money at this and read it at some point because absolutely. Side point, it is currently 8:56, so this is going to be your less than 5 minute warning for the first sprint of the night. If you don't already have a doc open, I would suggest getting that doc set up. Feel free also to let us know what you're going to be working on. I am still working on the seventh draft of the Nameless Song, which again is going through a title change eventually. Um, the Nameless Song is now the series title. It's complicated. Listen, there's a newsletter that I have yet to update, uh, and it will be made known there. But in any case, is chapter 13 specifically, and hopefully we'll actually get past a nice chunk of this and get on to the other side because I absolutely kind of want to move on to chapter 14 and hopefully to the end of this little arc soon. Um, Cryptic says, I'm probably going to be emptying the suitcases from going to AMK. Oh, it's been, yeah, you should probably do that. I'm not actually going to shame you because it usually takes me a hot minute to empty suitcases after any sort of traveling, but like it feels so much better when you do it. I have Benjamin in my lap right now, and he desperately needs a bath. That's one of the things I'm doing tomorrow. Basically, I have family coming over on Sunday, so it's sort of like bake bread, give Benjamin a bath, clean the apartment, tidy up. But yes, he is due for his monthly. His little pollen pouches. He has pollen pants. I don't think I've ever actually shown folks that he has pollen his lower extremities, but he has pollen pants. And right now they are a little bit gray from dust. In any case. All right. 8:59, 1 minute warning. Let us prepare because let's try to get this party started at 9 exactly. So make sure that you're at your docks, backs up straight in your seats. Make sure you have good posture. Do not shrimp during your writing sessions. Your spine will thank me later. Deep breath in. Hold it. And let it out. One more time. In through your nose. And out slowly. Oop. Shake out those wrists. Wiggle those fingers. And 9 p.m. exactly. 20 minutes are on the clock. Get ready. Get set. And here we go. Good luck. All right, that is sprint number one. How did we do? I have to admit that I had to start over because something wasn't quite working, but between the little bit that I chopped off and now, where was I? Oh, there it is. 364 plus 175. I can do math. 539, which is not bad for a first one, especially since I had no idea where I was going with this. So, legit, I'm proud of what I'm doing so far. How did the rest of you do? Let me just finish this one sentence because I hate, you know, when you stop in the middle of a sentence is the worst. But Gabe says, I managed to. Let me scroll back up. Cryptic says the clean clothes are put away. That suitcase is empty and also put away. Excellent job. See, it's always like the chore that you're putting off that takes the least amount of time, but I am proud of you. Hell yeah for doing it. Gabe says I managed to write character bios and start sorry, hold on. I can read this. I managed to write character bios and start out what I want to do with the plot. I'm trying not to outline too much because my brain's allergic to outlines. Totally understandable. Uh, it's either that, like, you write things out complete, like, there's that fear that if you write everything out, then all of a sudden you don't want to actually write the story, but there's also the you write everything out in an outline and then immediately throw the outline out the window. Like, I totally understand, but understand not outlining whatsoever. I still recommend doing them at least once, not only to get a good sense of how you plan, because it is super important, and not everybody really understands how they plan unless they try different methods. Like, you will never, like, there are so many ways to plan a story, and some of them are like out of left field. You would never think to do them, but then when you do them, you're like, why haven't I done this before? Like, I'm seeing people who are doing this by spreadsheet. Spreadsheeting is not for me, I admit, because I feel like planning things out that organized, like breaking things down all the way to character, because I'm the kind of person who writes outlines and makes them very detailed and then throws them out the window. I would never be able to sit down and be like, okay, so this is what happens in chapter 12 to this character, and this is how that character's arc gets pushed forward. It makes more sense to do it that way because then you have a more coherent plot, and honestly, that can be treated as your own draft zero. But it's still like I feel like it strips things down way too much. Like I've done uh, drafts that are kind of like that, like draft zeros, where I don't get too deeply into a character's head. Uh, and then it just felt off, you know? But in any case, the main point is like, I totally understand not wanting to outline. Uh, so long as you have an idea of where you want to go, that is the main goal of doing any sort of planning. And there are so many ways to do that, and I love them all. Like some people are super creative when it comes to planning, and I wish that could be me. Excuse me for a second there. I do apologize for kind of like making noises into the mic. Uh, it is one of those days where the digestive system has been a little bit weird, just in general health. But I am working on that. I am very excited about certain things that are happening. Uh, Baby's going to have baby's first sleep study, for example, later on this month, and baby is going to figure out so many different things about why I wake up fun. Anyway, personal stuff aside, uh, Allison says, I think I feel good about the revisions to this flash. May be able to submit it somewhere tonight. I am delighted by this. Absolutely. And I wish you the best of luck with submissions too. Like, I also am a little bit envious about that productivity because imagine being able to get a story together in a day and then take it to a point where it's like it's ready to publish in a day. Like, I wish I had that confidence. 100%. But mostly, I am rooting for this so much. Go submit it somewhere and go get that cash. Or at least that publishing credit, man. Cryptic says, I've got so much to wash, but that's tomorrow me's problem to start on. Heck yeah, for Saturdays, am I right? Allison says, oh, it's been more than a day. Okay, fair enough. In that case, I will amend it to imagine getting something done in a few days. Because I work so slow, I need to actually step it up a little bit more. But I figure, on the other hand, this is kind of like my first big thing, and I'm learning so, like, it's not the first novel that I've ever written. There are definitely unpublished novels that I've put on the back burner or are just virtually unpublishable, and I will never actually show them to you. The Arcadia, RIP. But anyway, the main thing is like every project you learn a little bit more about how to write and how to publish. So like I'm sure that if I keep on doing this, I'll be able to trim down my production line from like several years to just like a couple months and weeks. But fingers crossed. Um, Allison says this is after it got workshopped at a local writers group too. Oh, okay. So yeah, that definitely helps, wouldn't it? Like being able to co-write with people and then get immediate feedback from people who are right there with you. Absolutely. Uh, Allison also says fingers crossed. Thanks. Absolutely. Cryptic says I'd love to finish something someday, little by little. Uh, my advice would be like I know I fully encourage having just like a shit ton of art of works in progress or at least ideas because eventually you're going to have like a backlog of manuscripts. Like I've recently read the advice and it makes so much sense actually thinking about all the people who were published on Tumblr and whatnot. But basically, the idea is that you have a bunch of finished manuscripts and then you start building out your publishing schedule. So if you're like set on even just like publishing for free, you have something in the back burner that will come after you finish publishing your other thing. So it's like I encourage that, but also to finish something, I would also suggest picking one and kind of like no matter how painful it is, eventually you will finish it and you will have good days and you will have bad days. I say this because writing the Nameless Song, which I've been working on since like 2022, on and off, it has been kind of a trip and kind of painful. I feel often like I'm dragging my feet because, especially since this is the third rewrite of this manuscript, but I also feel like I would not have made this much progress with it. And there has been progress with it. But if I had just put it on the shelf and just forgotten about it, I would not make this much progress. And I say that knowing that that's exactly what has been killing my other ones. So I would suggest, like, even sticking with one for a couple of months, you know? Like, sitting down, uh, getting at least two drafts out. Like your outline, your draft zero, first draft, then just like switch something up. But like it's all about dedication, I think. Allison says, "Yes, it is. Yes, it is I, someone who goes through, who gets things done, smooths carpet over a huge mound of unfinished stories as they beam with pride." But hey, at least that is a pile that you can draw upon later. Cryptic says, to be fair, part of my issue is stuff I've been talking to my therapist about. So too, so like, oh yeah, that's also fair. Like sometimes the neurodivergence is real, and I say that as somebody who probably needs to see a therapist about that myself. But yeah, sometimes things are tough, and sometimes you're just sort of like, I cannot finish something if I tried. But it does take work. Absolutely, in all kinds of facets, even like the therapy journey. And on that note, I should really go and look at therapists too. Like, there's a laundry list of things I need to do this year now that I'm thinking about it. And I do apologize for like derailing back into personal stuff, but there we go. This is like uh, therapy corner, I guess, at this point. But absolutely take care of yourselves, guys. Uh, and absolutely, a lot of the good things that you need to get done take work, unfortunately, and dedication and sticking with it. And it's difficult, and you won't always get things done, no matter how hard you try, but like little by little, fix the things that you can fix, Cryptic says, don't apologize, I took it there. LOL. Totally cool. Thumbs up. Uh, Cryptic also says, and Reapers is just kind of the therapy work in progress. So, totally understandable, actually. I feel like Always the Bridesmaid is that for me, too. Or sometimes the Arcadia, which is why I never talk about the Arcadia. Because basically, I'm super depressed whenever I have to write dumb, really stupid, silly stoner shit. Uh, so if I whip out the Arcadia, I'm going through it. Luckily, I have not actually whipped out the Arcadia in forever because I found video games instead. But like, I don't think I've talked about the Arcadia in any kind of at any kind of length in forever. So to give you, because we have 3 minutes and I'm really killing time at this point, I will give you an overview of the Arcadia. But basically, it is Clerks meets High Fidelity set in a Boston coffee shop. A lot of it is based on my actual experiences working as a barista in the early 2010s in Boston, or at least like a couple stops away from Harvard Square. It is probably that was probably not necessarily one of my favorite jobs. Because there was a lot that I did not like, and that coffee shop was like, I have no idea how it stayed open. That's how many health code violations that place should have gotten. Um, but it that was definitely my favorite time period because I was like in grad school. I still had hope, and it was like the hipster era, so everything was hilarious. Um, and kind of like it it was like the vibe back then, So the Arcadia was a little bit about that, but it was also about this very depressed non-binary person named Teowin who hates everyone and everything and works as the barista at this place. And they're doing right for the first half of the novel is like hoping upon hope to get through a shift and go home and just do nothing because they don't exist exactly. They don't. They're very depressed. They don't enjoy life. But then abruptly, the person who's supposed to relieve them calls off and they're stuck for the entire day and they're forced to socialize with their coworkers because the sandwich maker Bailey has for some reason decided to make it his mission to break Itaewon out of his shell and just sort of like piss him off as much as possible. Basically, Bailey is the Randall to Itaewon's Dante, and it's about nothing, but it's about all these little vignettes of bullshit customers and being depressed and dealing with feeling like your life is going nowhere and you're only 24, but it still feels like you've missed opportunities and you're full of wasted potential and shit like that. And then coming to terms with that and not necessarily coming to terms with it, but learning that the person who's holding you back is you and that kind of stuff. But It's on the shelf. I don't know if it'll ever actually be published because it's so unlike everything else that I'm doing. But in any case, is the next 20-minute sprint. I will shut up now uh, and let you guys write. Good luck. Ooh, Gabe says suddenly I got quite sleepy. Hopefully I'll be in tomorrow for tea rights. Have a good stream. Absolutely. Get plenty of rest. And fingers crossed. See you tomorrow, Gabe. All right, that is our second sprint. How did we do? Let's see, where was I? Man, I don't even remember where I was, to be honest with you. Yeah, I literally can't even remember. I did not mark this down. I do apologize. It's probably a few hundred. I don't even. Fuck it. It's probably a few hundred. Uh, Allison says story has been chucked into submission queue for better or worse. Fingers crossed so hard. Excuse me. Cryptic says, got some of the dirty clothes out of their suitcase so they're ready to wash, and then got started exporting some of my writing to the right file type for importing to Ellipsis. It would be so nice. That is the downside to Ellipsis, I think. It is, its importing and exporting features kind of still need a little bit of tweaking, or at least it did the last time I looked at it, which was a couple months ago. And they're still in beta and they're still working on stuff, so I do give them props for this. But it would be so nice if it was so much easier to import and export. Oh, actually, they at least improved the. So they've done DOCX import and export, so that's a step in the right direction. Actually, now that I think about it, it actually does solve a lot because that was the biggest pain in the ass for importing stuff to importing the first third of this book of the Nameless Song to Ellipsis. Just like trying to convert everything to Markdown, which I get why they did it that way because I think Ellipsis was built originally for AO3 integration in mind. Like they kind of assumed that people would be more into using this to export to AO3. I only say this because when I first started using Ellipsis, like way, way back in its earliest stages, that was where you exported to. It was like that was the only direct export. Like you couldn't even export directly to into files that would work with Scrivener, uh, which is exactly why I stopped using it for that and the slowdowns that came with like working on a cloud-based system in its infancy. Uh, but it's worked out a lot of kinks, I think, since I like to believe. Um, so I really have to tinker with it more, I think. But having the ability to import and export as DOCX is a step in the right direction for sure. Now, if only I could hook like my Scrivener files up to it and just import from Scrivener, that would be like the absolute choice. But Scrivener also sucks in terms of exporting because for some reason you can't export an entire manuscript, or at least I have not figured out how to do that myself. You have to do it in file bunches, which gets to be a nightmare whenever you have multiple scenes that are all separate files in the same folder. But anyway, that said, Cryptic says not going to stop using Scrivener, but having it in Ellipsis seems like it'll make it easier for sharing in the future. I am 100% exactly where you are in the exact same boat. Like, I prefer using Scrivener uh, because I just like the tools of it a little bit more. It feels a lot more organized, a lot easier to navigate for me. And the last time I tried to do like an entire manuscript in one file on Ellipsis, Ellipsis did not like that. um, I also like the formatting options of Scrivener and so on and so forth, and I can keep on going, but like the biggest draw that Ellipsis has over Scrivener is the fact that you can just share it. That and it's uploaded to the cloud, so you basically never have to back up anything. Um, for example, right now I am currently fighting with Scrivener because for some reason, for some really stupid reason, and I hate this so much, but new Windows computers, for some reason, make you enable OneDrive initially, and then you have to actually turn it off. But if you don't realize that, then you end up saving a shit ton of stuff to OneDrive, and my computer keeps on mirroring to OneDrive even if I tell it, hey, stop doing that. So like I have to manually resave everything that I want into OneDrive and rename the fucking folders that have gone into OneDrive to something else because to make them just like disconnect and so that I know for certain that I'm no longer in OneDrive. But it's like OneDrive is such a scam. Here's the ranty part of the night, I guess, but it is really a scam. Like they give you nothing, and they're like, "Oh, haha, you can no longer save your files to your computer. You need to buy more room." And it's like, I paid over $1,000 for a computer with a decent amount of internal storage. Let me use the internal storage instead of putting things on your corporate machine where you can just decide that I no longer have access to shit, or you can use my files for whatever nefarious purposes that you have. Like, knock it off with that entire OneDrive bullshit. Like, if I wasn't terrified of losing the files that I care about, I would just like delete it entirely from my computer. But it is stupid, and I am so glad that Windows is now offering is now threatening to paywall their own OS behind a subscription service because that makes the argument of switching over to Linux and offering more support for Linux all the more lucrative. But anyway, uh, it's it's all bad. It's all bad in here, folks. But rant aside, let me go back to this. Allison says, listen, every story must be hurled at the feet of Clark's World to be summarily rejected. That is true. Uh, everybody, I feel like it should be a rite of passage to it. Submit something that you know will be rejected by Clark's World, and then get rejected by Clark's World. Like, that is like the one of the basic achievements on the achievement hunter list for being a writer. Allison also says, I think Ellipsis just had some update to import export or something. They did apparently. Like I just opened up Ellipsis and it gave me like this, hey, we updated this pop-up. I did not read it, but I probably should have. Hopefully it'll show me that again later on. That's a whoopsie doodle. But anyway, apparently, yeah, that I think the biggest gist that I saw in that little glimpse was that they are now supporting DOCX import, DOCX import and export, which is fantastic because that's basically the default of writing, isn't it? And then you can convert DOCXs to PDFs, and you have all the things that you need to submit things to different things, or to like import into your typesetter of choice um, for making books on your own for indie publishing. There we go. Or if you want to submit it to like an agent, you have your DOCX. Like that makes more sense than having to force everybody to use fucking Markdown. Like again, I get it. It's because you made a tool that's for the AO3 writers, but nonetheless, like AO3 writers don't even use that. They use HTML if they do use anything at all. Let's be real. Um, Cryptic says, I opened the crossover doc and remembered that was before I took the time to add paragraphs breaks as I type stuff. Oh no! Oh, that sounds like it's going to be fun to untangle. Cryptic also says, BRB, gotta feed the cats. I'll be able to hear you but not type. Totally cool. I am delighted that the cats have been fed, by the way. Cryptic also says, back, and ugh, don't get me started on the stupid forced cloud storage, right? Like, nobody wanted, well, Only the corporate shills wanted that, basically. Like, cloud storage in general. Like, in theory, you would think that's a great thing. Like, oh, hey, I have my files that are saved on the internet. I can pull them onto any other device. That sounds like it's safe, but no. Number one, no, it's not safe. It's not secure. Number two, no, it's not safe because you're storing it on something else that will just be taken down later without, you know, without you having any permission. Like, I'm just thinking back to all the people who have lost their images because of photo bucket shenanigans and well, mostly photo bucket because MySpace is something different, and also even though it's basically the same problem, you're trusting somebody else to store your shit for you and not do anything dumb. But that one was an accident, at least. Photo bucket was a choice. But you are basically trusting somebody else with your data, and it's terrible, and they never give you enough of it so that you have to buy like pro packages, so you're basically giving them money so that your shit will not be paywalled, and it's like that is very dystopic. And now it's fucking default on machines, and you won't know that you're actually saving things to the wrong place because they nefariously put a fucking document folder inside OneDrive. But yeah, like it's I hate OneDrive. I hate the way that the system is right now. That is my rant for the night. Allison says Clark's World is real easy to find on my submission spreadsheet because the red line goes very far to the right. I mean, on the one hand, Clark's World is a very difficult publication to get into, so I can understand. But on the and I also think that it's very funny to continuously. I feel like I would definitely do that too if I had a little bit more confidence in my writing. Like I said, I feel like it should be a rite of passage. And it'll get you used to being rejected because Clark's World is very difficult to get into anyway. So throwing things at it means that you will definitely see that rejection letter and eventually you'll get used to it. And then that'll get you geared up to actual publications that you know that you actually, aren't going to reject you outright. But I love Clark's World, don't get me wrong, but damn. uh Cryptic says it's 4,000 words with no paragraph breaks. Oh no. On the other hand, positive thinking. This means that you are forced to actually edit that because it's you have to figure out where the paragraph breaks go in the first place, right? As you're reading, you'll be like, I need to fix this, 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 and this. So it's like actually kind of good, and you'll get back into it that way too. I don't know, like for me anyway, if I read through something, I'll be like, why did I put this aside anyway? This is actually not that bad and would be fun to work on again. And then I end up working on it. That's how I keep on getting back into the Arcadia. And then I lose, or I write a chapter and then put it back on the shelf. Um, but yeah, I highly encourage that. Uh, Allison says photo bucket stares into the middle distance. I haven't heard that name in years. It's because they put everything behind a paywall. No, I'm kidding. It's because there are better services. Totally, I understand that, but also because they put everything behind a paywall. But yeah, oh god, that it does bring back memories, doesn't it? Like early, like mid 2000s anime forum memories. God, I miss those days. There were so many things that were wrong with that Wild West era, but like man, it was not like what we have today. Allison says it's a rite of passage, Jinx. Hell yeah. Cryptic says one actually, just one. Okay, so you have one paragraph break in 4,000 words. I feel like this is an editing challenge though. 15 seconds until the next sprint, so I will very quickly run through this. Allison says, I was spoiled by getting my first pro sale in my first dozen submissions, so now I'm perpetually like, may as well try RIP Cross Genres, which announced it was closing the day my story was published, but at least you got it in, which is awesome as fuck. You can also proudly say that you were one of the last ones in, so hell yeah. Anyway, 20 more minutes on the clock. I will see you on the other side. All right, that is the last sprint. How did we do? I am scrolling up trying to find the bit where I left off. Oh, here we go. 584 words, which is a good place to stop. I'm very close to the very end of this chapter, and then I just have to go back and fill in all the details because I did this in script formatting to jot down my thoughts. But that is a good thing to do for tomorrow. So, that having been said, while we're all talking about our progress and whatnot, I will let you know about this week's schedule. But basically, tomorrow, as I've mentioned, Cryptic says, discovered the Hell's Casino doc is almost as bad. 4,100 words and 2 paragraph breaks. Jesus Christ. But also, man, Hell's Casino is also a name I haven't heard in a hot minute. So absolutely jump in on editing that stuff. But heck yeah. Allison says revising another story that is a fun one, figuring out how to expand it. Keyword space Home Alone. I love this idea, especially if we're talking about a very faithful space Home Alone, because like kid in space pulling off all kinds of traps to take care of terrible people. That would be kind of fun. Not gonna lie. Cryptic says, but I think I've got a decent chunk of my docs exported. Yeah, that's the OG. Excellent, excellent. That just means that you need to start editing. That's all I'm saying. But anyway, let me talk about the schedule. As I've said, tomorrow 8:30 a.m. 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time, going until usually about 10:30. We are going to do another writing session that is called Tea Writes. So I hope that you'll be back here again tomorrow uh, with me writing. If not, no worries. It's a lot of writing. Hell yeah to progress. But then after that, unfortunately, I will be busy during the first part of the week, as I usually am, which means that the first session or the next session after Tea Rights will be on the 18th. That is Wednesday, the 18th, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time until about 10:30, and that will be Night Rights. So, to recap, tomorrow morning, the 14th, 8:30 a.m. will be our next session of Tea Rights, followed by the 18th, Wednesday the 18th, 8:30 p.m. Sadly, no special streams going on uh, after that. I feel like I will be kind of tied up with all kinds of work stuff and whatnot. Uh, we'll see though, especially since I will probably want to be as busy as possible for the next few. And I want to be as productive as possible because I really just have gotten bitten by the I need to get back into falling in love with writing and get back into just throwing myself into this project. And also, we are on the doorstep of St. Nadia and the Zizun. There are going to be bees soon, and I'm going to be thrilled. Like I want to push as far forward as possible so that I can finally introduce bees into this project. Soon, though. Soon. Alison says, not so much a kid, but there will be some carnage on some space pirates. Heck yes. I am still cool with this. And I hope it's creative carnage because you said Home Alone, and let's all be real. The best part of Home Alone was the traps. uh, I feel like even the franchise understands that, but hell yeah to carnage and space pirates getting just desserts and whatnot. Like I get be gay, do crime and whatnot, but it's also just fun when you have objectively terrible people getting justice, kind of like cosmic justice, you know? Because not all crimes are great. Let's just say. So I am all for this, and I'm all for terrible people and catharsis and whatnot, and creative fun. And I was about to say vigilanteism, but I suppose it would be in that case. Like a good person, a genuinely good person, lashing out against people who don't consider other people as human beings and or don't respect anybody else but themselves and whatnot. I don't know, like I'm talking out my ass at this point, but like I can definitely see it, and I would definitely be interested in watching it happen. Like actual villains being actual villains and getting paint canned in the face by not even like anybody, but like some just one person just trying to mind their own business otherwise. Captain America turning around a chair to sit on it backwards. You know, not all crimes are great. Correct. And here's the meme that goes, identity theft is not a joke. But yeah. Yeah, I'm all for this. Like sometimes I do forget that or I do feel like it's easy to forget that be gay, do crimes only extends to crimes that don't actually hurt other people. Uh, but a lot of crimes unfortunately do. That is why they're crimes. But that is the PSA for the evening. Uh, but also still a cab. But anyway, that having been said, I won't hold y'all too much longer, especially if you are planning on dropping in tomorrow morning. So I will also thank all of you for coming in. Like I said, this is only going to be a 3 writing session run because tomorrow morning we're going to be doing more, and for me it'll feel like I've done 6 writing sprints altogether. I will feel just as comforted by that, or as I will feel exactly as you might think for somebody who does 6 writing sprints in a 24-hour period. Let's just say that as much and as excited as I am to get to the Zizun and bees and finishing this chapter, I'm also very much looking forward to my bread baking session immediately after the writing session. But so we're just going to wrap this up as quickly as possible. Uh, Thank you all for coming. And Alison says, thanks for hosting. Absolutely. I do hope that you drop in either Wednesdays or Saturday mornings for any future ones. We would be delayed to have you. And hey, maybe I might add in Friday one. I don't know. It depends on how people thought about this one. But in any case, as always, for everybody, I will uh, stay hydrated, take care of yourselves, get plenty of rest. Know that I love you. And Allison says, "Oh, thank you for reminding me to feed my sourdough starter." Yeah, definitely do that. It is yearning for feeding. Cryptic says, I'll be around tomorrow." Excellent. Even if you drop in like well after it starts, that would be also awesome. We love you, Cryptic. But yeah, get plenty of rest, everybody, and I will see you on the next stream. Good night, everybody.